Belushi to agree to be in Animal House, made what's called a development deal, which is usually bullshit, for the Blues Brothers. And I was totally sold on it. And so, you're to see it, or you saw you asked this question, but this is before Animal House is shot. So we then make Animal House, and Saturday Night Live is now a huge hit show, and Danny and John want to perform as Jake and Elwood on the show, and Lorne Michaels keeps saying, no. And what happened was, they would perform around Manhattan as Jake and Elwood, and one time, Carrie Fisher, who is in the movie and who was engaged to marry Dan Aykroyd at the time, didn't happen. In any case, Carrie was hosting Saturday Night Live, and she said, I want the Blues Brothers to perform on the show. And Lorne went, oh, so he dressed them up as bees. And they performed, and the audience loved them. And the horn section comes from the Saturday Night Live band, Paul Schaefer's band at that point. And what happened, it's a long story, but basically, Steve Martin then hosted, and he said, you guys perform. And they performed as Jake and Elwood. They sang Soul Man on the show. I think Sam Moore was there too. And there was such a big reaction that, did you ever wonder why in the film so many people can't act? It's because they're not actors. The guy who's the A&R guy from the record company, the big guy, his name's Michael Pleffner, he was an A&R guy for Atlantic Records. And he basically saw them perform on Saturday Night Live, and he said to them, you guys should make a record. And they went, great, sure, we will. And then Steve Martin, it was the height of his stand-up career, and he was going to perform at Universal Amphitheater, which no longer exists, in Los Angeles. And he said to John and Danny, why don't you be my opening act? And so they said, oh shit, now we have to get serious. So that's when we all got together and put the band together for real. Oh, wow. And Belushi did it. I mean, he would call Matt Murphy in Texas. It's an extraordinary group of musicians. And Paul Schaefer was originally the piano player. So they opened for Steve Martin. It was the day we got married. What year was that? I know the day, I don't know the year. 1980. So they were the opening act in 1980 for Steve Martin. They recorded it, and that's Briefcase Full of Blues, and it became a triple platinum album. #1 selling blues album, ironically, in history. And what happened was, suddenly Universal looked around and they said, wait a minute, John Belushi, star of the #1 movie in the world at that moment, Animal House. John and Danny, stars of the #1 TV show in the States at that moment, Saturday Night Live. John and Danny, Blues Brothers, #1 selling album in the country at that moment. Wait a minute, we have a development deal to make a movie about it. And they said to me, can you have this picture in theaters by August? I went, sure! Script. I've made 2 movies that way, Coming to America and The Blues Brothers. Both movies. Can you have